Welcome to the Andy Staples Show. Ari Wasserman is here. He is no closer to his Mercedes. At least I don't think so. 4 Sweet 16 games played Thursday night. You hit Tennessee plus 400 late after the ball started collapsing against FAU. And I don't think that worked out real well.
It did not. You know what I love about this podcast, Andy? We're recording on March 23rd at 11:28 Central. It's after midnight in Florida, and the first thing we got here is a "Let's go Gamecocks" in the comments.
Absolutely.
It's just like the passion. It's unrivaled in the sport.
We did that college football Sweet 16 episode, and the first 19 comments were some guy asking us why we didn't have BYU in there.
Yeah,
and we hadn't even named a team yet.
And those are the people that we do it for.
Yeah.
I went 0-2 on Thursday. Both value plays. My parents are in town visiting their granddaughter, so I've been kind of distracted.
Do you feel less inclined to gamble when your parents are around? Do you feel like that your mom?
No, they know who I am.
Okay.
No, they know who I am. And I had Michigan State plus 200. And I thought I was going to get that one, and my dad was bought in.
Come on,
yeah.
when Marquise Noel threw the lob after pretending to argue with Jerome Tang, come on.
We were eating Chinese food at the table, and I was pretending not to watch the game because I was engaged in the conversation. And I was like, "Dad, you got to get up. This is the last possession." He's aware of what's happening here. The thing that you'll come to know about me if you don't already is, Andy, I'm unapologetically myself. There's no hiding me from anyone, So my wife was sitting next to me, and it was kind of upsetting because she did an office bracket pool, and she's inexplicably first place.
Of course,
because that's how it works out. And she had Kansas State winning and getting into the Elite Eight, and she was like rooting against my bet next to me. Kansas
it's almost like Final Four, baby.
I think she would rather lose money than me win the car, just out of principle. If I really
right.
If we gave her ass juice, I think she would be like, you know what? She's not rooting for me. Like when she sees me sweating on the couch, she is like not engaged at all.
But this is what I appreciate about Britt, because Britt and I are cut from the same cloth. We'd rather be right than the other person be happy.
Yeah, I think that's probably on track to some extent. But no, that was I'm happy that we waited to record this, because that UCLA Gonzaga game the most entertaining game of the tournament.
Oh yeah, I think so. And while I think K-State and Michigan State was highly entertaining,
it was
just as K-State Kentucky was highly entertaining.
Was K-State's point guard was that the plan to fake argue with the coach in order to lob that reverse alley-oop?
I think so. He also trash talked Mateen Cleaves while throwing another lob. He said, "Watch this," and he didn't know who Mateen Cleaves was. He just said Isaiah Thomas's friend. I was talking to Isaiah Thomas and his friend, and he's like, "Watch this," and he throws a lob.
That's how you. Mateen Cleaves was like one of the best basketball players in college of all time, right? Like it's like almost shocking that he wasn't a long NBA player.
He was a phenomenal college player. Like that 2000 Michigan State team was off the charts tough. Like they were.
And I don't know anything about basketball or his size or whatever it is, but yeah, I remember like when I was a kid, that guy was the man.
Yeah. But Marquise Noel, I think Adam Kramer and Adam and Paige pointed this out on their podcast earlier this week. They do the one from Bleacher Report. K-State has the best 5'8" athletes in America. Like Marquise Noel, Deuce Vaughn, Darren Sproles. They're just
always.
I don't know where they find them in different places. Like Deuce Vaughn's from Texas, Marquise Noel's from New York, but it's unbelievable. And also, can Marquise Noel replace Deuce Vaughn next year? He's got some eligibility, I think.
I don't know. What's the right way to say
how that might work?
Kansas State is 5'8" U. Is that like the way you could, everybody else is linebacker U or O-line U?
I saw somebody advertising they replaced kicker U the other day. I'm not sure it was intended to be funny, but it was hilarious. And you'll never guess which school it was.
What school was it?
The Texas Longhorns.
My horns. Well, Jacob, Ari is without a hat because it's almost midnight here. All my hats are in a storage container in our closet, and my wife is sleeping. So I'm trying my best to be a loving and supportive husband of her sleep, and I'm humiliating myself on live camera with my midnight weeknight
You're not
hair.
humiliating yourself. The lettuce is tremendous. If you're not watching the YouTube stream, I don't know where you are, but yes, this is late. Ari's hair is unkempt, but still magnificent.
Also, too, if you thought that the reason why I always wear hats is to cover up some sort of male pattern baldness, now you know.
No, I just think you are containing it because the sheer majesty of it would be too much for the average person to take.
Yes, the actual reality is I am too scared to wake her up while getting the hat. Of
course you are.
You know, there is nothing worse than the scorn of a woman woken, right? Is that the saying?
Something like that, yes. Hell hath no fury like a woman woken.
Like a woman woken. I think I used the
a woman. I think awoken might be the word. Awoken.
Yeah. I'm so afraid to wake her up. I might just sleep on the couch, to be honest. You know, because like
this is where our spouses differ. Because it's funny because past about 3:30 in the morning, everything will wake my wife up. But right after she falls asleep, there is nothing that will wake her up.
You know, it is interesting being married to a light sleeper. So, you know, that it for me, like when I was single, I would just watch old Family Guy or Seinfeld clips on and like leave the TV running all night and just sleep with that on.
Yeah, but now you can't watch Man Hands and fall asleep to that.
No, can't. You can't watch anything. It's pitch black. We have a sound machine. Like it's the whole deal. Like it's like it has to be the perfect setting. And like I used to be a tosser and turner, but like I'm so afraid to wake her up in the middle of the night. I've trained my body to stay in the same position all night. And I'm also like 3 times the size of her. So like I try like really hard. I think we need one of those Tempur-Pedic beds where you can like, you know, where you jump on the bed one side and then the other side the glass of wine is sitting there.
Oh, you absolutely we'll get to that point. You need the Craftmatic adjustable bed where there's basically a line down the middle and you can each adjust.
But I will say this, Andy, if I ever get a bed that I can hit a remote button and it sits up for you, it's over for me. Like getting out of bed's the last cardio left I've got. I think.
You really are. Are you one of the people from Wall-E? Like,
probably.
You sort of ride around in your scooter.
I mean, like think about those beds where you can like elevate your legs and sit up. You know.
Mm-hmm.
If I had one of those, like it would be a real.
Never get out of it.
Yeah, like how could you even get out of that?
You just have Postmates or Uber Eats drop something at your door. You
like,
devise a device to get it for you.
Because I'm not really a bed during the day type person. Like I like to watch TV and hang out on the couch if I'm like being a couch potato. And there's some people who just like love laying in bed all the time. But if I had a reason to go into my bedroom and lay on my bed at like 2 p.m. because I have this, like I think that it would be detrimental to my productivity. So
I think. All right. Yeah, we gotta let the fans know because we got Friday night Sweet 16, we got the Elite 8 on Saturday and Sunday. How close are we to that Mercedes 500 SL?
We're not going to get it. But I'm up. That's the thing. I started with $1,000 budget, and I'm up 1,100 as we record this. But
what happens to the fund? If the fund does not add up to enough to get the 500 SL, what
I have to buy if it doesn't get to 15, I lose the bet no matter what. If I'm down, I think she just hates me and I lost the money. And if it's up, I have to invest it in the stock market, which is a nice consolation prize. But I don't plan on being up. Like I'm going to fire every bullet that I possibly can to try to like get live in Final Four weekend.
I can't wait.
That's why I've been playing a lot of big dogs, like plus 400 plus. I'm like trying to pop something because
that was a good spot with Tennessee because they've been winning most of the game. They have
down
a lull.
6, I think.
Yeah,
4-1 down 6 with 8
yeah,
minutes
because
left.
that was before the flagrant call. Yeah.
And then the flagrant call happened right after I put it in, and my buddy Vaughn, who was in it with me, I think he got in before too. I was like, God. And then they cut it to I believe it was either 6 or 7 and had a wide open 3 to cut it to a 1 or 2 possession game, clanked off the front of the rim, and then it turned into a transition layup. And I was just like, that was it. But
that was it.
Yeah, but I'm going to go down swinging.
The fans in the chat telling you to stay away from Alabama on Friday night. They would
I'm not mush.
For Alabama to make the Elite Eight.
I'm not. I don't think that I agree with the mush part. Like, I got pretty up because I hit Fairleigh Dickinson in the first round over Purdue live. So like I'm like kind of, finding my sweet spots here, but I'm not going to give my wife the satisfaction of earning any money out of this. We're either going to be down 1,000 or we win. Like, there's no in between.
Or you're just cruising around in your 2-seater. That's great for life with kids.
That one that I sent you on Twitter was pretty sweet, wasn't it?
There's one in Tucker, Georgia. I like it. I like the silver a lot better than the black. So I'm all for that. I will head up there. I can just do a quick flight to Atlanta, hop on I-20 and drive it to you.
Yes, that would be great. And I'll pay you back when you get here.
All right.
Andy, we're 11 and a half minutes in. Do you want to tell these people what we're talking about tonight?
We're talking about Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher, and Bobby Petrino, because we have not recorded since that press conference that ostensibly was to preview spring practice, but turned into one of the more awkward exchanges you're ever going to hear. It's almost like nobody told Jimbo Fisher, hey, you're probably going to get a lot of Bobby Petrino questions in this deal.
Well, the thing with the whole thing about it to me, Andy, and then I'll let you play the clip, is the fact that it was the first news conference of spring football and it was awkward.
First one since what is there to be awkward Bobby about? Petrino, by the way. So
that to me is alarming. So play the clip, and if you haven't seen it, but it is a strange.
There are clips. We have 4 clips. Yeah. So we'll just kick it off with the first couple questions. Our guy Olin Buchanan from Texags led the way with the first question. And we'll just work our way through it, because it's almost like a play in 4 acts. So here's the first couple questions.
Jimbo, how much difference will there be in the offense, and how much control?
We ain't worried about. Here's what we're doing.
How much control does Bobby have?
We're running our thing. We're going to be base fundamentals. We ain't getting into scheme. We ain't getting into anything. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to practice and what we're going to do on a daily basis. When do you have to get into scheme? What we put in that day. And then we'll be base fundamental. How you execute your scheme is what's about fundamentals.
Front row on right.
What went into the process of bringing Bobby Petrino on board?
Well, that was a guy we wanted to hire. A guy I've known. Your
previous relationship with him as well.
I've known him a long time. We've had great respect for each other. And when we talked, we thought it would be, after meeting and talking to him, we thought it would be a very good fit for what we're trying to do and the things that we believe in and what goes on.
We're just going to work on the fundamentals. So they're not going to run plays?
Yeah, I didn't really understand where he was going with that. And
like, you're just going to work, are you going to have the linemen in the chutes the entire spring? Or like, are we ever going to go 11 on 11 and run a play? I think they probably are.
That Jimbo Fisher has that irks me. And I don't know if it's because I'm a reporter or if it is something that Texas A&M fans or people who watch his news conferences regularly pick up on. But he has a tendency to start answering questions before the question is finished. And I don't know if that's like a way to control what's being said or how it's being said or what, but it's like we didn't even get to the question. And he was already like, it's the first question of the news conference of spring. And he's already got his hand up interrupting it. And it's just like, why is he so freaking uncomfortable talking about it? Like, that to me is the most interesting thing about it.
That was the thing that interested me, because if you look at the A&M fans' reactions to it, they're just like, oh God, this is not good.
I don't know how anybody, A&M fan or onlooker, could look at that and be like, I feel really good about the situation there.
Well, and here's the thing. And look, the PR staff can help out here. Jimbo does have to listen to them, which maybe he doesn't really do. But when it's the first time you're talking, since you've hired the OC that the entire fan base was telling you need to hire an OC for the entirety of last year, if it's the first time you're talking, the first question's gonna be about that. In fact, almost all of the questions are gonna be about that.
The fact that it was almost like surprising to him.
And answers ready, where you come off and you're like, Bobby, me and Bobby been just drawing up plays in the dirt. We're having fun. Most fun we've had since I started coaching. Stuff like that. It doesn't have to be true. Just give the people what they want.
What you just said is vague.
Right.
There's no information. There's no information being conveyed. It is almost like canned excitement.
Mike Leach, may he rest in peace, said all of that stuff about weddings and gummy bears and pirates and everything else, so he didn't have to talk about his team. Ari, we have to pause the A&M conversation briefly.
Okay.
Because before we got on the air, you and Tashawn Reed, who covers the Raiders for us in Vegas, we're having a little argument about a certain fast food burger chain.
Is he here?
That people on the West Coast really love, but has objectively the worst fries ever dropped in a fryer. We're going to talk about In-N-Out Burger very briefly. Tashawn is here. Tashawn.
What's going on, yeah? What's up?
Set our man straight.
Hey, man. Ari, listen, man. We've had this.
You were at the tournament, bro. Why are you in your car?
Listen. I contributed to our headline. That's all they needed me to do, so I'm going home. That's why I'm in my car.
Okay.
So moving on. Back to your In-N-Out. So I moved to Vegas the summer of 2020. The first place this is my first time on the West Coast. I've never been west of Denver in my life. The first meal I have out here is In-N-Out. And so I go to the restaurant. I'm in this line that's hanging out the parking lot. I'm like, oh, this shit must be amazing. Like look at this. Like this must be incredible. And so I order the animal style fries. I get the burger, how y'all say to get it. I even get a shake. I get home to my Airbnb. I'm all excited and shit. And it's so mid. I'm not saying it's bad. The fries are objectively awful. Like they are.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But the burger
Well,
is just,
yeah, nobody's going there for the fries.
But the fries are offensively bad. It
So are
takes
Wendy's
away from
fries.
the burger.
No, they're not. Wendy's fries are not offensively bad.
Wendy's fries are so bad they've had to change them 7 times. And they keep getting worse.
And yet In-N-Out won't change theirs, and everybody knows they suck.
It's
You
cardboard.
put seasoning on your steering wheel doesn't mean it tastes good.
From the texture, even if you put seasoning on those fries, just the way they're constructed are terrible. And the burger is just okay at best. And mine was dry. It wasn't good. It's not that good.
Yeah.
And
The question I have too is the travel time back. You know, you're putting this thing in a bag and letting it steam in your car for 40 minutes on your way back to the Airbnb. I don't know what the hell's going on there. Go into the restaurant and show some respect if it's the first time you went there, okay?
I was 5 minutes away. It was 5 minutes.
You know, listen. So here's the thing that really irritates me about In-N-Out discourse, and I said it to Colton Pouncey, and I'll say it to you. I think there is a fundamental misunderstanding on how to grade this burger. When I say it is the best fast food burger there, I don't want to compare it to a sit-down restaurant. I don't want to compare it to Five Guys that cost $12. I don't want to compare it to anything that's not in its realm.
We are comparing it to Burger
We are
King,
comparing it to
Wendy's,
fast food.
McDonald's,
burgers.
Whataburger. We got it.
It's
Yeah,
a
I'm not-
$4 burger.
Not as good as you think it is.
You didn't.
And if you don't think it's the greatest burger ever, that's fine. It isn't the greatest burger ever, but from the standpoint that it is fresh, that alone puts it ahead of every single corporate.
Wendy's single is
Is it
just
Wendy's
as
Dude,
good.
Wendy's says never frozen. That shit comes straight out of a bag, dude. That's disgusting.
Wendy's
It's like
has you said it's $4. Wendy's has a 4 for $4 where I get chicken nuggets, fries, a sandwich, and a drink, and it's all good.
And you're like worried about like dryness. Like, did you see that picture of that Wendy's burger I posted on the internet? You can chip your tooth on a Wendy's burger.
Well,
It's like you want to talk about like mid. That's bottom of the barrel garbage. At least at In-N-Out, they put a burger onto the grill and make it for you.
By the way,
is
we
mid.
got to talk about mid, because Tashawn, you were a generation younger than me. That is the most devastating insult your generation has devised.
Yeah,
I hear it from my kids all the time. Like,
Yeah.
it's worse than being called terrible. Like, being called mid is worse than being called awful.
Yeah, I mean, like
You
the
know,
worst thing. We work in sports. The worst thing in the world is something that's just average. Like you want it to be either awful or great, right? Like that's what's best
Yeah.
for business.
But what are you
And
expecting from a drive-through restaurant?
I mean, the way y'all hype it up, I'm expecting something that's fucking brilliant. What do you mean? Like it's gonna
Yeah,
be
I mean,
incredible.
have you
We
ever
were
gone back?
No, I went back to take somebody this weekend actually, and it was like $8 for the shit that they got, and it smelled terrible. It looked terrible.
Smelled terrible.
This confirms that I will never eat here again. I didn't
You
get
know,
anything.
here's the funniest
I was
thing, Andy,
very hungry.
about this whole situation is that my food takes on this show are kind of out there sometimes.
Mhm.
But like liking In-N-Out is the most mainstream with the flow and the trend that a human being can get. People call me a contrarian. It's like me liking In-N-Out is as cliche as you possibly can get.
Yeah.
And it's like I have to go to the gym and pay a personal trainer every day because I am an expert in this stuff. And I'm letting you know right now that there is no, and if you took every burger chain from California to Maine and you put it on a plate without the wrapping, I could tell you where it came from. Like I am an expert in this field, and there is no burger that is fresher or has tastier meat on the burger from a drive-through place than In-N-Out. And if you start comparing it to McDonald's and Wendy's, all that stuff is good. It's chemically made to be good.
But
That's
I'll
why
go
it's
with this.
good. Everybody likes it.
Look
that's
what I found, Ari. Look what it's the Roku remote of justice. Uh-oh. What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. Ari Wasserman has said something on this podcast that has caused one of his coworkers to call him a dumbass. Rather than meet in Temecula and settle it with their fists, the two parties have agreed to dismiss their claims and have their dispute settled here in our forum, Judge Andy's court. That's right, I have the Roku remote of justice. I am ready to issue my ruling. Tashawn is correct. In-N-Out is mid.
That's a lie.
Hey.
Dude, listen to me. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this as Tashawn goes because I know he's had a late night. Anybody who orders a steak in a steakhouse well done doesn't have any opinion worth considering.
Medium well. Get it right.
Don't talk about beef with me. I don't want to hear your opinion about beef. You want to talk about the Raiders?
Ari's right about this one. Medium well
Y'all
sucks too.
I don't eat well done steak. Y'all saw me eat the steak. We got a steak together in Vegas.
They had to bring a chainsaw to the table so you could cut the piece of meat you got.
Nicole Arback, our esteemed coworker, posted it on Twitter, and it looked incredible, did it not? You're gonna sit here and lie on my name.
Wait. Yeah, no,
The
it
correct
was
way
fine.
to order a
I'm just
steak
kidding.
is rare. I have made my ruling.
But Andy, you think that Wendy's burger is as good or better than In-N-Out's burger?
Yeah, they're both
Shake Shack
okay.
is better. I just had Shake Shack at the basketball game because we
Shake
got a
Shack's
free
more
media
expensive
ticket.
though.
Shake Shack is also twice as expensive.
Yo,
Yeah.
listen,
It doesn't have drive-throughs.
We all make livable wage here. I'm okay. I'm okay.
No,
with
you gotta-
paying extra money
can't-
for the steak.
You
All right,
can't compare a Ford Festiva to a Corvette. It's not the same thing. They're both cars, but they're different.
Tashawn, I'm just gonna randomly send you links when we're recording. I just want you to pop on every once in a while and just bomb Ari. So we're gonna make this a regular thing. All right.
All right. Well, let me get on the road so I can get home.
All right, bro.
Okay.
It's good seeing you. Yeah,
Bye, Tashawn.
I don't know how anybody could think that. I really don't.
It's
and you have a pretty
that was
sophisticated
refreshing.
palate. You really think that you really think that it tastes just as good as In-N-Out?
Ari, we're talking about fast food burgers. Does it matter how sophisticated the
That's
palate
what
is?
makes In-N-Out such a hype thing because it's fresh and it's cooked.
Oh, it's cooked! What a miracle! of science.
Well, you think it's always cooked at those restaurants?
The fries
Listen, I'm
are
a big-
aggressively awful.
So are Wendy's. I would say
And
that
I
Wendy's
docked
fries
the
are worse than
burger.
In-N-Out's.
They are not. There's nothing.
Wendy's
There's no
fries
fry
are
worse than In-N-Out's
terrible.
fries. There are no fries worse than In-N-Out's fries. None. All right. We must.
Doesn't matter if the burger is fresh if it doesn't taste good. Are there people on this stream right here that will take a bite out of a fast food burger and be like, "This doesn't taste good"? Every burger from a fast food restaurant tastes good.
Oh yeah, it's salt and fat. I mean, it's designed to hit all the good stuff.
Okay.
All right.
I get flustered about that because I think it's so.
I know. I
It's
gotta
so
reel you back
obvious.
in. I gotta reel you back in because we gotta talk Jimbo Fisher some more.
Yes, let's talk about
because-
Jimbo Fisher.
So we have now seen the clip where he cuts off Olin Buchanan. By the way, Olin works for Texags. All they're trying to do is write things that make the Ags look good. Like they're
Yeah.
writing for an audience exclusively of Texas A&M fans. Like it is not a critical. I mean, yes, they're critical because they would like their team to win, but they are in support of the Aggies.
They're not coming. They're not coming to the press conference to start. Pardon the pun. Beef.
They're not trying to stir it up. So it is truly amazing that nothing was prepared for this. But let's move on. So now we get to there's a question later about the timeline of hiring Bobby Petrino, because remember he was coaching in the FCS. He was a head coach. He takes the UNLV offensive coordinator job. Now there'd already been rumors about him and A&M before that. And then when he took it, we were like, oh, well, I guess they're going to, A&M's going to move on and find somebody different. And then they hired him. Well, let's see if this clears that up.
I know there were reports initially you were interested in Bobby, and then he took the job at UNLV. What made you go back to pursuing him and wanting him for that position?
I didn't go back. I never left.
What was it about him that made you want him to pull him from UNLV from already having
Same
taken a
thing
job?
I did when I was talking to him at Missouri. I just never made a decision until then.
Okay. Again, it's the first press conference since you've hired your new OC. Like the playbook is you build this person up into the second coming of, Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan and Steve Spurrier rolled into one. Like this is supposed to be the greatest ever. That's how this works. That's how the college football hype machine works. Like you talk about how awesome he is and how great the offense is going to look. And then, ultimately we usually get disappointed by what actually we see on the field, but you got to at least talk it up a little bit.
And
you don't even sound excited.
You have to explain what the first news conference of spring football is supposed to be.
Oh,
rainbows, sunshine, pumping,
yeah,
hype, talking up players that are young that we haven't seen. It's supposed to generate excitement for the potential of your team. And the thing that was the most bizarre thing about this is that he seems legitimately uncomfortable up there. It's defensive. The entire tone of the news conference as it pertained to that topic was defensive. And like you are bringing somebody in to fix the biggest ailment of your team. This person has a interesting past, but one thing's for sure is he's a really gifted.
Yeah, off the field in the office, not a great pass.
But he's a gifted play caller. So if
calling
in theory,
plays, fantastic pass.
If it would work, like A&M could be really good with the talent that they have come. Like this is a time where by talking about how great of a hire it is and all the potential that he sees and not only the coaches, but the players responding to the new hire is a way to erase all the negative things people said about his offense a year ago. But here we are talking about it again, reminded again about how bad A&M's offense was. And it's just a confusing temperament for the time of year. And if he is defensive out of the gate because Bobby Petrino brings up other emotions because of off the field incidents, that's something that you need to consider before making that hire and be prepared for when you finally have to talk about it. So like, I just thought the word that I would use
they didn't even
is
ask any
bizarre.
stuff about that.
I know, but don't you think it was just bizarre?
It was. And that's what worries me for this whole arrangement. Now, look, we said this when they hired Bobby Petrino. It was sort of either or. Like, either this is good because Bobby Petrino is the one guy who's not going to be intimidated by Jimbo Fisher, who's not going to be like, oh, okay, fine, you can have the play calling back. He's not going to do that. And he's also going to be like, look, you hired me to do this, so I'm going to do this. or you can just pay me. So that's the potential good outcome. The potential bad outcome is this just turns into a quagmire, which this doesn't sound like anybody's excited about it. And this is another thing about the whole one voice philosophy, which Nick Saban probably is the one responsible for this the most, where the head coach talks and none of the assistants talk. And it's great when you're winning every game. But when you're not, then all it does is lead people to speculate, because there's a vacuum. There's no information. All they can do is speculate. So all we can do is talk about how weird this all sounds. That's all we got. We got this, this press conference.
Here's my theory, and you tell me if you think I'm onto something. I think that Jimbo Fisher's greatest joy in being a coach is probably offensive thinking, philosophy, and calling plays. He was put his team in a position last year where he had no choice but to hire somebody that would tempt him or force him to give it up. He is probably not excited about having to do that. And now we're discussing potentially glorifying the person they brought in, or he brought in, to save him from himself.
Right. Because
and I think that's an uncomfortable situation for him. Because if it works, what does it look like? He torpedoed the team.
I don't get the credit for this. Yeah. Now, if it works, you do get the credit because you won games. But
which is the funniest thing about it. Because nobody is going back in time and looking at who the offensive coordinator was every single time Nick Saban won a national championship.
Right.
Yeah. Look at this head coach and what he built there.
Yeah.
Me,
Jim McElwain, Doug Nussmeier, Lane Kiffin. It's Brian Dable.
Yeah. Well, the thing that is just kind of interesting to me is the job of the head coach in college football has morphed quite a bit the last 10 years. And I think being a successful head coach and being looked upon as dominant in your field, every single year that goes by is becoming less and less about X's and O's acumen and more about management ability, hires.
Yeah, I mean, Nick doesn't even run the defense, and he's a defensive guy. He's always let his DC call the defense. We still consider him the GOAT. Yeah.
I mean, nobody cares who's actually calling the plays. Everything that happens on the field comes at the feet of the head coach. If Bobby Petrino goes out and calls the best offensive games we've ever seen in our entire lives, then Jimbo Fisher absorbs credit for being smart enough to go get him. That's the way this works now.
But you're not, for whatever reason, that doesn't seem to be how things are working at Texas A&M. So, I really want to see this thing on the field. When we come back, though, we got a couple more clips. We get to a finishing point where maybe we're in a little better place than we started. I'll tease you with that. We'll be right back.
Do your financial goals feel out of reach? They don't have to be. With Chime Secured Credit Builder Visa Credit Card, you can start building credit with your own money through on-time payments and small everyday purchases like groceries, streaming, and gas. Members see an increase of 30 points to their credit scores on average. Chime reports your payments to the major credit bureaus and help you build credit over time, all with no annual fees, large security deposits, or credit checks to apply. Start making your financial dreams a reality with Chime. Signing up only takes 2 minutes and doesn't affect your credit score. Get started at chime.com/Andy. That's chime.com/Andy. The Chime Credit Builder Visa Card is issued by Stride Bank N.A. pursuant to a license from Visa USA. Chime checking account and $200 qualifying deposit required to apply for secured Chime Credit Builder Visa Credit Card. Based on a study conducted by Experian Credit Builder members, observed an average of 30-point FICO score increase after 8 months with regular on-time payments. Results may vary. See chime.com for details. Out-of-network ATM withdrawal fees may apply except at MoneyPass ATMs in a 7-Eleven or any Allpoint or Visa Plus Alliance ATM. That's chime.com/Andy. Get started. Takes 2 minutes. Chime.com/Andy.
Welcome back. So we're talking Jimbo Fisher. Wild press conference. Our Sam Kahn from The Athletic was there, wrote a column about it. If you haven't read it yet, go read it. it's very interesting because Sam kind of captures some of the awkwardness, and it just because I keep going back to what they have on that roster, and I realize they did lose people to the transfer portal, but their first 22 are going to be real good. Connor Wegman looked like the right quarterback. If Bobby Petrino calls the offense well, there's a chance they can be successful. Now, I do worry about their depth because they did lose a lot out of the portal or into the portal, have not pulled as much out of it.
And that still could be fixed because the portal's not done.
Right. The portal ain't done. We can talk about that a little bit too. But it is just odd. So, all right, now we get into what the offense might look like. And it's going to sound an awful lot like every press conference after every game last year.
Jimbo, how much difference will there be in the offense, and how much control?
We ain't worried about. Here's what we're doing.
How much control does Bobby have?
We're running our thing. We're going to be.
Jimbo, what is it about Bobby philosophically that you like about because of what he's done in the past and what he brings to this program?
Yeah, I mean, Bobby's an experienced guy who's called plays and done a great job, and he's got a really good foundation and fundamentals of football, which have great balance, whether it's running the ball, throwing the ball, and has been able to be very productive in the things he's been able to do.
How would you describe similarities and differences between you two philosophically?
We ain't got enough hours on day to do all that. But at the end of the day, we believe in one thing: execution. So at the end of the day, that's what it's about. An over route's an over route, a dig's a dig. How you get there, what you do, and we get so caught up in it's not scheme, it's execution, and then that goes back to how do you execute? Fundamentals: alignment, assignment, technique. No matter what you do, and if you want to know technicals, if you go watch everybody in the country, everybody does the same thing. Go watch film. If you sit down and watch film, there's not a hill of beans between anybody.
The first answer was great, was exactly what he should have said right at the beginning. He's got a great track record, great offensive mind. I think it's going to work out very well. That's fine. But then you get into the same answer that you got after every game last year, where it's not the offense, it's the execution. Everybody runs the same plays. Everybody runs the same concepts. Yes, everybody runs similar concepts. But that doesn't mean everybody runs the same thing. You tell me, like, what Jamie Chadwell ran at Coastal Carolina, what he's taking to Liberty, which is a triple option based spread offense, doesn't look anything like what Texas A&M runs.
Mm-hmm.
What Josh Heupel runs at Tennessee, which is based on the old Art Briles Baylor offense, doesn't look anything like what Texas A&M runs.
I mean, you could literally just go watch an offensive coordinator put the defense into a pretzel with pre-snap motions.
Right. Yes, a dig is a dig, a counter is a counter, but how you dressed it up beforehand and how you made the linebackers look and move and how you made the safeties look and move, that has a lot to do with the success of the play. Right. That is coaching. That is not player execution. You have to come up with that window dressing as the coach.
Also, if scheme isn't important, then why was there a need for a hire?
Right.
Is Bobby Petrino coming in to help people execute better?
Well, apparently so. But it was strange that because that was the fallback last year. That was always the fallback when the question was, and the questions were always kind of a different version of, do you think your offense is past its prime? And he'd say, well, no, it's all the same stuff. It is, and it's not. Like, some teams, like Baylor, for example, right now, they run a lot of outside zone. That requires a really different skill set from your offensive linemen than teams that run a bunch of gap scheme stuff. Very different. You're recruiting different people. Like, so to say that is an insult to everyone's intelligence.
I mean,
and also,
what do coaches do in the offseason, Andy?
They go look at other people's plays. They go clinic with people. They go talk to people in the NFL and try to learn as much as they can. So they
About what?
can create new
About
plays.
execution?
Yeah. No, about scheme.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't know. If A&M's offense averaged 41 points a year a game this year, do you think that Jimbo would ever just come out and say that Petrino's a genius calling plays? Like, do you think like that this is what that's about?
I don't know. I don't know why that's important, because it's not going to take any zeros off Jimbo's check to say that.
Yeah. And the more zeros on the right side of the win-loss column, the better.
Yeah, and everyone will be happy. That's the thing. They won't care if you're who did what if you're winning. No one will care.
Yeah. It's truly bizarre. And the thing
Yeah.
too is, and this is the one thing I want to ask you. It's like, if you want to believe in the change, right? Like, because you want to believe that Texas A&M brought in somebody who can help them fix their offense. Doesn't the head coach himself have to be the first person bought into the fact that it's going to be different?
Yes.
Because if the head coach doesn't buy in, then what I do think you are setting yourself up for is an impasse between coordinator and head coach.
I think you may be right. And this doesn't give me a lot of confidence. And oh, by the way, we're talking about a humongous buyout still. Like $76 million if they decide after this season it ain't working. Like, that's just crazy. And last year it was not on the table. Like, firing him was never on the table. But this was something that was talked about before the season ended with Jimbo Fisher and the administration of Texas A&M. It was decided this was going to happen. So it's so weird acting like all of this hasn't been decided, or it's just odd. So let's get to the end point here. This is they're about wrapping up here.
So help me out. So you hiring Petrino is going to help your execution. Am I correct when you're saying it gets down to execution? Whatever you see that he does comparable
It's
to
going
you?
to allow us some things. I think he's a very good coach, and I think he'll help us offensively. Yes.
Execution. But so what
And
about,
it's what coaching is. I mean, at the end of the day, it gets back to being able to execute what you do and be able to be consistent in what you have to do.
yeah, just trying to see that you guys a little more comparable, so you feel the execution will be there better.
Well, hopefully, I mean, that's what we're here to try to do. Based off our fundamentals and our work habits and what we do on a daily basis, that's what we'll get back to.
And what about who makes the play calls? Would that be him or you?
Yeah, I mean, we'll go through that as we go.
Go back to the back. To
Plan
the
on
right.
him making calls. Plan on him calling plays. I have no problem with that at all.
He almost wouldn't say it. And Alan Cannon's asking for the next question, the SID. And then he's like, oh, I don't have a problem with him calling plays. Like,
Because he didn't have to say it. I think it's kind of a good news that he did say it. Because like, what if the
Exactly.
press
That's what I
conference
said.
would have?
we
What if he
got
would have
there.
ended with that? What if
Yeah.
we would have ended with we'll go as we'll figure it out as we go or whatever?
I think that would have been far worse. He got there. So I'm glad he got there. But man, it was pulling teeth to get there.
He looks miserable.
Yes. And it is very similar to every interaction last year.
Yeah. Yeah. Post game interactions. We went to a few of them.
Yeah. And it's I don't know how that helps at all. And if you're going to do the one voice thing again, you got to be prepared to answer the questions, because you chose to be the lone voice. So, I mean, I guess you could not answer any questions at all and just say the results will speak for themselves.
That would be more encouraging than what he said.
That would be fun. I would like that. I would like
the results speak for themselves would be good.
I would have liked it more, I think, if when he got the first question, instead of saying, no, we're not going to get into that, he just said, I'm going to let the results speak for themselves. And they just walked off and not talked again until after the first game.
Don't you know how much excitement that would have created?
Oh, my God. It would have been amazing.
Because people would have interpreted that as confident Like this is going to be.
I mean, it
revolutionary.
would have depended on how he said it. So how? All right, I'll be Jimbo Fisher, and you tell me how I sound. So you asked me the question about what the offense will look like under Bobby.
You're Jimbo Fisher.
I'm Jimbo Fisher, yes.
And you want me to ask you the question?
Yes.
Okay, I'm slow when it comes to this sort of thing.
I thought I made that fairly clear, but yeah.
Jimbo, the talk of the offseason has been about the improvement of your offense.
Let me stop you right there, Ari. Let me stop you right there. You'll see on the field. The results will speak for themselves. Peace out. I got a cattle auction to go to. I mean, that sounds like 9-3 at least.
All right, give me the spotlight. I'll be Jimbo.
All right. Jimbo, you hired Bobby Petrino, and I'm curious how that's gonna change the offense, or what's gonna look like this year.
Let me just put it this way: when you see the results on the field in the fall, you'll know the answer to your question.
12-0, right there. 12-0.
I'd buy that.
What's funny about that is the answer could actually be like 4-8 or 12-0, anywhere in between.
Well, did this news conference make you feel worse about buying stock in this?
Yes.
Same.
Yeah. And I realize
on the first day of spring,
a lot into it, but
no, I don't think we are.
You don't think
I really
so?
don't. No,
Okay.
I don't. I think that temperament is a really. How many coaches in college football are agitated on day one of spring football?
Very few. Very few.
I mean, I don't even recall it. So
it is the time of hope and joy, and everything's going to work. The new defense is multiple. The new strength coach is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and the old strength coach wasn't fit to run curves. Sliced bread. Whoops, wrong school.
wrong coach. Yeah. So here's Sam wrote a great column, and I think everybody should go read it. But the one thing, there's no but about the column, but the thing that I might have also wanted to write if I were there with him is the number one thing when it comes to fixing your own behavior, right? Or reforming yourself,
right?
Improving yourself is you can't fix a problem until you acknowledge it was there, right?
Right.
You can't fully commit yourself to the improvement of said issue if you don't acknowledge the existence of the issue.
If you don't think there is an issue, then you can't fix the issue.
So I don't know that I believe that Jimbo Fisher goes to bed at night in his California King and thinks that there was a problem.
See, I think he thinks there's a problem, but I think he still thinks he alone can fix it.
Let me rephrase it. There's clearly a problem. There's nobody who could have watched that and not seen the problem. I don't think Jimbo Fisher goes to bed in his California King and thinks that there's a problem with him.
That makes more sense. This is going to be one of the more interesting stories of the college football season. And I do realize we have some folks who say, well, why do you talk about these guys so much? They're not winning a lot of games. They're not dominating. Because it is fascinating. Because they are paying so much. Because this is a guy who
should be genuinely fascinating to just.
He does have a national championship on his resume. Like, we watched him win one at Florida State. And that was a legitimately dominant program for most of the time he was there. So
the reason why he got this contract.
Yes. So to see this is shocking. I mean, the results last year were shocking, and you would hope for their sake, all of their sakes, that that's the anomaly. But you see something like this and you're like, this feels worse.
Yeah. Yeah. And I honestly know that sometimes we get super laser focused on one team, and that team has been A&M probably 5 times in the past year. And, there could be some A&M
It's
fatigue.
Iowa the rest of the time. Yeah.
But
that's true.
I do think that this should be inherently interesting to a college football observer, because I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned about the way that A&M's building their program.
Yes.
And like in the NIL world, and I think the reason why people hate A&M so much is that they have put football above everything, and they have financially backed that thought process or that commitment up. And you have a coaching staff with Jimbo Fisher on it. The offensive coordinator is Bobby Petrino, and the defensive coach, the coordinator, is DJ Durkin. You have all these ultra talented players. You have the portal. You have NIL. You have a large and different fan base. Like, I think I would say right now that A&M is the most fascinating program in college football.
I would agree with that. And the thing about it, you mentioned how large and passionate the fan base is, and I think that is a key
different
thing here. And yeah, they're really loyal. But I will say I have noticed a tone shift of late in the Texas A&M discourse, because even through a lot of last season, Texas A&M fans were still very quick to defend Jimbo Fisher. It doesn't feel to me like they're defending him very much anymore. They're just like, they seem more fed up than anybody else.
Yeah. And like, it's almost like, being held hostage a little bit. And the only thing that you can do is hope for the best, but you're not going to be on the front lines when it comes to, they're like, I know a lot of A&M people, I don't know if people know this, but my wife went there, and a lot of her friends have spouses that I've met who went to A&M. And there seems to be with these people, and I'm not talking for the whole fan base, from these people I know, a sense of defeat before it even starts.
Yeah, and that ain't what you want. That's not good, especially, we mentioned it, the transfer portal opens again next month. And the idea, I would think, if you're A&M, is to bolster your depth by pulling some transfers in. But if things are not going well, or if they appear to not be going well, then you worry about losing more. I mean, we've seen that, because we talk trajectory a lot, and now we have this sort of way station in the offseason where we can look at different programs' trajectories based on what's going on in the transfer portal. Like, Florida has a situation right now where they had an offensive lineman who had transferred in from Baylor, who looked like he was going to start this year, who tweeted on Thursday night that he's entering the portal again. And doesn't mean they're going to lose him, because it's not open yet, and they might be able to convince him to stay. There's he might be injured. Like, that one, I think there's probably more to the story than what we've seen with just his tweet on Thursday night. But that's another program where the trajectory feels off,
right?
And the fan base is very apathetic, and they're excited about your guy DJ Lagway, the quarterback who's committed for 2024. But I think a lot of them are like clinging on for dear life. Like, can all this
get there?
Get to 2024.
Yeah.
So like, that's the problem. And we saw it last year. Like, that's where after spring practice, like, Jordan Addison left Pitt, and you're like, whew, I don't know about the trajectory, because Narduzzi's saying, well, it's because he's going to USC, and I think if he'd have been happy there, he'd stayed. Like, we're gonna get this post spring practice at various places where some teams are going to get stronger and some teams are going to get weaker through the portal, and A&M, like, I'm going to be watching that like a hawk, because I thought their transfer portal losses were understandable.
Manageable.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they kept everybody they felt like they really needed to keep. But they can't, like, they need to have a net gain this next round just for depth purposes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know if they have to have a gain in totality when you have both sessions. They
Mhm.
have to have a gain on this next session. Like if more people pop in now, because like my number one thing with A&M is, in terms of being incredibly alarmed would be the loss of the key members of that class that they signed.
that
2 years ago.
2021
and
or
they've lost
2022 class,
a few, but they signed 18 top 100 players, and I think 16 of them are still on the roster.
Right. And
Going into the second year. So
if we went position by position, I would feel very comfortable with their top 22, with their starting 11 on both sides of the ball. Like I feel comfortable with that. I feel like that's a talented group. Like if things go right and you have good injury luck, that's a team that can be very competitive. What I would worry about is if they can't bolster a little bit and they have some injuries, then you're looking at a problem.
Yeah. I don't know. There are a lot of programs that I think have the ingredients to do it. And I'm just kind of waiting for them to arrive. And the wait is starting to get too long.
Well,
and like, I honestly, I'm going to say this right now. You want to leave people on a cliffhanger?
Let's do it.
I don't know that USC won't be one of those programs in 3 years.
Really?
Yeah, I'm starting to lose faith a little bit there.
See, I don't think you should lose faith yet. I'm not going to even make that a cliffhanger. I want to talk about this for a minute before we go.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to lose faith because, first of all, as much as I complain about their defense, Lincoln Riley's defensive philosophy and how he's going to have to change that to make them capable of fielding a dominant defense at any point, they're always going to be good offensively. They're always going to be a pretty good program, no matter what.
It won't be enough.
It won't be enough in the Big Ten if they don't make the changes they need to make. But I'm still not completely out on them making the changes. Like I think he's a smart person, and I think
they didn't this year.
No, but that was the first year. So now you've seen what you got. You've seen how this works. I'm not giving up on Lincoln Riley quite yet.
I'm not giving up on Lincoln Riley. I'm not saying they'll never be good or that they stink. My question is if they are going to be in 3 years from now a program that we talk about in the same vein of when are they finally going to break through. And I think you can kind of make case that they were close to. I mean, listen, if Caleb Williams didn't hurt his hamstring, was it hamstring in Vegas? Maybe they're in the playoff in year one.
Yeah.
They got really close, and I thought that the column that you wrote off of that game was tremendous, and I think that the column, he did exactly what you thought couldn't happen this offseason. And the premise of your column is get serious about defense or get serious about not winning, right? It's like, and this was their first season in USC, but it wasn't their first season working together.
I know. And that's the argument I've been making when the USC fans would come at me with, well, he just got there. And I'm like, no, what I'm saying is this is what it was always like at Oklahoma. And it's like this again.
And the talent accumulation piece of it too.
Yeah.
Like if you want to call it USC's personnel, what has USC done to rectify that issue?
Right.
Off the field. Yeah. So like that to me, that's scary because like Lincoln Riley existed.
They got Anthony Lucas from Texas A&M on the D line.
Yeah. People helping people,
And we've come full circle already. All right, everybody. Listen, enjoy the Sweet 16 games on Friday. Enjoy the Elite Eight. Ari and I are going to be back with a fresh, piping hot news show, like a fresh bag of disgusting In-N-Out fries. We'll be back on Sunday or Monday or both. Probably both. We'll talk to you again soon.